welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Canadian Chamber's Women in Business Summit. I'm Acacia Pangilinan and I'm the Executive Director of the Kamloops and District Chamber of Commerce. I would like to first acknowledge that where I am joining you from is situated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Tecumloops to Secwepemc within Secwepemc, the traditional territory of the Secwepemc people. I am honored to live and work on this land and acknowledge the complex but important journey that we are all on in supporting and accelerating Indigenous reconciliation. I also recognize that through this event, we are gathering from many Indigenous communities from across the country and provide acknowledgement of those Indigenous nations represented through this platform. Thank you. I'm thrilled today to have the opportunity to learn from and be joined by Tanya Mushynski. She is the Vice President of Customer Care for Enbridge Gas, Inc. In this role, Tanya leads the strategy, operations, and integration of the utility's customer interface functions. She is accountable for the systems, the processes, and the support of the business's 3.8 million retail customers for all aspects of billing, customer contact, and revenue management. A champion of diversity and inclusion, Tanya is an executive member of the Enbridge Diversity and Inclusion Steering Committee and sponsors 2 employee resource groups. Before assuming her current role, Tanya was the vice president in the Enbridge Inc. legal department. In addition to a joint honors economics and political science BA, Tanya holds a Bachelor of Civil Law and Bachelor of Laws, both from McGill University. She has 2 master's degrees, one in business administration, also from McGill, and the second in adult education and counseling psychology from the University of Toronto. Her career began at Torys LLP, a major Canadian business law firm. Tanya lives in Toronto with her husband and 2 sons. Tanya, thank you for joining me today. Let's jump into our questions. The theme of the summit is restarting, reimagining, accelerating, and recuperating women in the post-pandemic era. Tanya, what does this mean to you?
Thanks for the question. Well, at Enbridge, when the pandemic hit, our priority, which is very consistent with our values, was protecting our employees, their families, and our communities. And of course, this remains true post-pandemic. It soon became clear to us that women were more affected by the pandemic in terms of work-life responsibilities due to things like childcare and homeschooling, and that women were bearing a disproportionate amount of the burden of the pandemic. So this realization made us even more committed to the environmental, social, and governance targets that we've set at Enbridge in terms of helping women restart, reimagine, accelerate, and recuperate their careers in a post-pandemic era. So what this meant for us was increasing representation of diverse groups within our workforce by 2025, including 28% from racial and ethnic groups and 40% female representation. This also meant increasing procurement from diverse suppliers, as well as achieving 3.5% representation within our workforce of Indigenous people, again by 2025. And from a governance perspective, we're focused on strengthening diversity on our board with the goal of 40% representation of women and 20% of racial and ethnic groups by 2025. We also introduced our Flex Work program earlier this year. Instead of taking a top-down approach to this, the program was informed by employee focus groups to build out our equity plans and implement a policy of our own design. So that it was very important for us to first hear from employees about what flexibility meant to them and what they valued the most. So in brief, I'd say, as we all became aware, the pandemic certainly highlighted inequities in society. And while these are very significant, we are very well prepared to do our part to address them at Enbridge.
Thank you for that response. So it definitely sounds like Enbridge is being very intentional with its design and supporting diverse populations and especially women. In late 2020, Enbridge publicly announced its DEI goals, including the representation that you spoke about. Can you tell us a little bit more about this decision to establish this and how Enbridge is publicly communicating these goals?
Yes, definitely. So, ESG, or environmental social governance, is a relatively new term, but what it represents has been integral to the way our business has operated for decades. Our performance in this area has always been important. And in 2020, Enbridge set ambitious goals for its ESG activities. We recognized that our stakeholders wanted to know more than just what we've done, but what we plan to do and how we will be accountable. So we have also linked incentive compensation to delivering our ESG targets. Being accountable is, of course, critical to achieving our goals. And one very important element of this is our diversity dashboard. In 2017, we established a gender dashboard, and this evolved into the diversity dashboard that we have today. It means that we're very transparent in communicating our goals and progress through the dashboard, and this is a distinguishing feature of our approach at Enbridge. We also launched IDEAS, which is our inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility strategy. As part of that strategy, we made a commitment to prioritize inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility in our workplace, as well as through our interactions with colleagues, the community, and business partners. It's very important for us to reflect the diversity of the communities that we serve. It helps us to better understand our stakeholders, and it ensures that we have a wide range of perspectives to support the development and delivery of our strategic goals.
Thank you very much for sharing about Enbridge's ESG goals. I think it's important for our larger organizations and corporations to demonstrate this commitment publicly to serve, really as leaders to the rest of our national business community within this space. And I know that you kind of touched upon this, but what are some of the tools and programs that are in place to build and nurture the talent pipeline at Enbridge that spans across those various dimensions of diversity, but also across the new energy technologies that Enbridge is involved in?
Well, attracting and retaining a more diverse workforce and ensuring a greater inclusive culture are essential to our business success at Enbridge. We're intent on cultivating a workplace that continues to draw out the best ideas from our people with a focus on inclusion and collaboration. And this is a commitment that is deeply held by everyone across the company. Given the nature of our business, there are a large proportion of traditionally male-dominated roles in science, engineering, trades, and technology in our workforce. So along with our ESG goals to increase the representation of women across the organization and on our board, we also have a focus on short, medium, and long-term efforts to build a pipeline of talented women. This includes dedicated roles to accelerate these strategies and provide meaningful opportunities for professional advancement and development. It also includes engaging with academic institutions and not-for-profit organizations to remove barriers that may prevent young girls from considering career opportunities in STEM fields as they mature. As well, we're increasing our employer brand with women considering a STEM-based career. A great example of this is our sponsorship of the first robotics competition, which is an annual event which sees students from across Canada compete on teams and engage in problem solving based on science, technology, engineering, and math-inspired activities.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that with our summit delegates today. And thank you for sharing your time with us. We really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.